In other news, the Supreme Court upholds the draft scheme that has been submitted by the centre. This is, of course, with respect to the Cauvery water management case. It has rejected Kerala and Karnataka's proposed modifications in this draft scheme. So you have the Supreme Court upholding what has been proposed, submitted in fact, by the centre. It has shot down requests for modification by other states. To help us understand this further on ground on how this is going to work next, our Deputy News Editor Meenakshi Bhanja with those inputs. Meenakshi, please go ahead.
Well, Seher, this is perhaps some semblance of finality that has been arrived at because remember, earlier we had reported as to how the Supreme Court had made it abundantly clear that it will not get into the legality of the draft scheme, but it will merely examine and evaluate whether the draft scheme which has been submitted by the central government is in conformity with the original judgment of the Supreme Court, which was delivered on the 16th of February, which had charted out the water sharing formula. So by accepting this draft scheme, which has been submitted by the central government, in effect, the Supreme Court has also rejected Kerala and Karnataka's proposal of modifications that they were seeking to the draft scheme. So now, all perhaps now hinges on the fact that there has to be acceptance of the Supreme Court's second time judgment on the issue of Cauvery by the contesting states, and that some finality and closure can be brought to this issue there.
Right. Meenakshi, this also means that this kind of hastens up the process of finally setting up the management scheme and finalizing on ground on amount of water that needs to be shared, because the centre's draft has now been accepted, which means that this is now workable on ground.
Workable on ground. The draft scheme will be the scheme that has to be implemented on ground. That is the opinion of the Supreme Court, which today has put its stamp of approval to this draft scheme that has been submitted by the central government. Earlier, there were several logistical issues, including Karnataka elections, and even now, it was the turn of some Karnataka-based lawyers wanting for the Supreme Court to give further hearing to them, given the fact that Karnataka is witnessing a transitional phase with the elections just having concluded. But those arguments were not accepted by the top court. And now the big question really is how much of political will and leadership will be showcased to implement the judgment and the intention of the judgment of the Supreme Court on ground.
Okay. All right. Meenakshi, many thanks for getting us those details.